Hi everybody, it's Erin the Hiking Stitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 3, where I am going to kind of just wrap up what I did in June and talk about what my July plans are. So if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back and enjoying my little corner of the internet. If you're a new subscriber, welcome! This is mostly a channel about my cross stitch, but occasionally I'll talk about my hiking, because that is my other passion. So today is July 5th, and it is about 100 degrees here in Virginia. So I figured today would be a good day to film a floss tube. So let me jump into it. I've got a lot of whips to show you. I want to talk about a couple finishes. I have some haul to show you. And then I finally got back out on the trail. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that. So without further ado, let's get into my June whips. So I'm not going to show these in any particular order other than the order in which they are on the pile, but I've worked on all these in June in some way, shape, or form. So the first one I put in this nice little flamingo project bag from the Black Needle Society, and this is Beach Rat. Beach Rat, designed by the Artsy Housewife. And I started this one at StitchCon because I was enabled by my table and a bunch of other friends, and I actually really, really like this. So here is where I'm at on it. You can see where it says BEA and part of a C, and I've got the seagull head and the seagull butt. So this is a very fast stitch, and I'm really liking this. So this is with the called for colors, no conversion. And this is on 20 count fiber on a whim. What do they call this? Cream and sugar. So that was my first project, and I'm really going to kind of keep this in my I just need something to stitch on very quickly pile when I just feel like working on that. So that was one of my projects. This was actually a new start at StitchCon. And then the next one is the Celebrate All Year Sale from the Black Needle Society. So it's all in this beautiful Black Needle Society bag. And so this month I worked on April. And April's pattern is National Astronomy Month. And there's May. Oh, where did you go, April? Hold for a second, please. All right, found it. It got buried in the bag. So this month is National Astronomy Month, so I got probably about half of this done. So I don't even know which way is up anymore. So I got some, turn this way. There we go. So I got most of those little stars done this month, and I got down to here. So I got to this little planet. I like the pattern. I'm really not liking stitching on the black linen. The black linen is not my favorite. I'm not a big linen fan to begin with, but then putting it on a dark fabric, to me, I've just been ripping more than I've been stitching on that one. So, but it's a work in progress, and I will finish it. So that was April from the Celebrate All Year sale. Let's see, they just released the July one, so I am pretty behind, but I'm hoping to get caught up later this summer and into the fall. Goal is still to have them done by the end of the year. But that's what goals are for. Goals happen. So then, one of my small projects, had to pick it up off the floor. This was my travel project. So this is Coco at Luke's. So here's where I'm at on it. And it'd be helpful if I showed you the pattern, I suppose. So this will be what it looks like. And this is done again by the Black Needle Society. And this was an extra in the Winter and Stars Hollow box. So this is a fast stitch for me. And so this pretty much is what I stitch on in the car. Sorry for the hanging thread and the needle. But this one kind of lives in the car, and so on a long road trip, that's what I've been working on. So I'm mostly done with the cut, but so this will be probably a quick finish sometime in July. Let's see, let me bend down and see what else I have down here. Ooh, one of my favorites. So the next one is the Gilmoreism stitch along from the Forbidden Fiber Co. And I'm keeping it in this wonderful Summer and Stars Hollow project bag that I got from the Black Needle Society during their Summer and Stars Hollow. And so I worked a little bit on some of the borders on this in June. My biggest plan is to get this finished in July. So let me show you what I have done. So at the top I have the first row done. So I'm all the way down. Hold that up there so you can read it. Trying to get used to filming on this. So I've got most of them done. I just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 motifs left to finish. And that is actually, again, a fairly quick stitch. It's just a matter of sitting down and actually getting it done. I had an issue with running out of the dark roast floss for the border. And so trying to find the right shade of dark roast, I think I went through 2 versions, and Leanne at Forbidden Fiber Co. was wonderful with sending me 2 different versions, neither of which kind of fit. So I found another brown from Forbidden Fiber Co. that comes very close to matching what I had. So that's what I'm going to finish the borders in. And so once I get the borders finished, then it's just a matter of filling in the motifs and calling it good. So I'm aiming to get this finished in July to both count for Frogwarts finishes and Fandom Stitching Central finishes for their Finish Fest, Palooza, whatever. So each Sal piece will count as a finish. So I'm looking forward to getting some time in on that one. So we put that one aside. And then let's see, what else have I not shown you? Some of the stuff I know I've shown you in the last 2 floss tubes. So I don't remember if I showed you this, but I did get work in on Winter in Stars Hollow. So my Seasons in Stars Hollow, I've been keeping in this project bag from the Black Needle Society in Omnia Paratus. And this came in, I think, the first Autumn in Stars Hollow box. Pretty sure it came in, and that's what I've been keeping this pattern in, because I'm stitching all 4 seasons on one piece. So let me show you where I'm at here. So this is everything. So let me show you the whole thing first. I don't know if you can see all that. There you go. So with spring, I am almost done with spring. So I'm actually saving spring for a finish for Fandom. So I just literally have to finish the yellow in the in there, and I will have spring completely done. And then summer has been done, and autumn has been done. And then winter, we started in March of this year. And so I do have a bit left on this, mostly the background, and then I have to finish the house. It's all easy fill-in stitching, so this is kind of a, once I just sit down and do it, I should be able to knock this out in a couple days. So this is another hopeful July finish, crossing fingers. And I'm actually going to be sad to finish this one because I love this series and I love this entire pattern, but I'm also excited to get this up on my wall. So that is the Seasons in Stars Hollow that I got most of winter done in June. Let me see, what else did I work on? I'm saving the big ones for last. So then another pattern I worked on was a WIPGo call. And I started this one in May. So this was one of my mania starts. And it is a Snowflake Quaker Style by Oratim Stitch. I think I said that right. Or I keep wanting to say autumn, but I know that's not right. But this came in, I believe it was a Christmas in July box from the Black Needle Society a couple of years ago. And normally I'm not a Quaker fan, but I'm really, really liking this pattern. I love this stitch. I love winter. So this is working out for me. So here's where I'm at. And so my fabric is a Atomic Ranch fabric. I believe it is called. Crap, I left the card. So I will put at the bottom what this fabric is, but I know I bought this at Steel City Stitchers. And so here is where I'm at on my Snowflake. I don't even know if this is right way up at this point, but I am stitching this on the blue fabric and I'm using white A12 for this one because I love the sparkles. I don't know if the sparkles will show up on here. And I also know that this is not showing the blue very well either, so trying to show the blue. Now the lighting doesn't really show how dark blue this fabric is. It's gorgeous. But, so that's what I got done in June there. Let me fold that up and put that back. Oh, now I found it. So that was actually stitched on Atomic Ranch Christmas Night fabric on 14 count. So that is a Quaker Snowflake. And then, what did I work on? One of my other WIPGo calls, one of my favorite ones, was 324 from Works by ABC. This was another Mania start, and this one has been very instrumental in helping me see just where my threads are, because this calls for 324 colors of DMC. And while I have thread coming out of my ears in my stash, I also kit up my projects, and so there's threads in my projects. So when I look for a color on this, I tend to go to my drawers first. I don't see it, and then I've had to dig through my projects to find it. And so thank God for the Notions app that I downloaded, and I've inventoried all of my floss. So I know if I don't have a color in my drawers, I know that I can search on that and say, hey, where is this thread? And it'll tell me, and I'll just go poach just enough, because each of these motifs doesn't take more than maybe 100 stitches, maybe 150, nothing major, especially when I'm poaching from my Hades where I've got like 4 skeins of the same color. So without further ado, here is where I've gotten on that in June. So I have been working through that, and you see kind of that open spot there. That is the only color that I do not have in my drawers or with any of my projects. So that is on my shopping list for the next time I go to Joann's. But we're getting into some of my favorite colors. I love the dark reddish purples and, the 917, 718, 600. I love those kind of darker pinks and some of the purples. And I know pretty soon we're getting out of the red scheme and we're going to move into other stuff. So my goal with this one, and again, this is why you have goals, because it gives you something to work for. I believe it was the Top Knot Stitcher that started this stitch along with this piece on March 24th, or 324, with the idea of stitch a motif a day. So by my calculations, if I stitch a motif a day on this, I should be done sometime in February 2025. So I know that I'm putting this away and not working on it for a little bit and then coming back to it. But right now I am on track. So I'll pull this out again sometime in July or August and just work through it. Just kind of do a diagonal at a time as I can. But I'm loving the colors on this. Really, really love it. And I saw on Works by ABC's Instagram that they're working on a 324 with black work. I can't wait for that one. Maybe that'll be next year's Nashville release. I don't know. But I am super excited to stitch that. And I'll probably stitch it so that way I can have both of them. So let me bend down and see what else I have in my pile. Yes. So another pattern I worked on in June was Silver Bells. Let's see if I actually find the picture of it. Here it is. So this pattern right here, and this was in one of the Nice List boxes. I believe it was 2022's Nice List box from the Black Needle Society. And this pattern is designed by Lindy Stitches. And this came kitted up in the box. So it had the floss and the fabric and the pattern. So I'm using all the called fors. It's a mixture of Forbidden Fiber Co. flosses and DMC. And it is on a 32 count linen called Frozen. See, there's the card that came with it. Helps me remember where I'm at. So here is where I'm at with this piece. I've got some of the bells and I've got the holly. And again, this is a pretty fast stitch. Again, I keep this in the car, so it's something to work on. I got most of my work on this in June when I was actually at the late night stitching room at StitchCon. It was just something small, something easy to work on. And so this is gonna, again, maybe stay in my rotation, or at least in my basket for July and August. So when I need something quick, or if I'm hopping in the car and doing a road trip, this is another really good road trip pattern. So that's Silver Bells. Let's see, a couple more projects before I get to the Hades, because I know that's what a lot of you guys know me for, is working on the big pieces. So then in this project bag, the Prisoner of Azkaban project bag from Frogwarts Year 3 from the Black Needle Society. In this one, this is where I am keeping the river. from Modern Folk Embroidery. This came in a Black Needle Society box a while ago, and I've turned this into my rainy day project. So any day that it rains, I try to put at least one length of floss into it. And I've grown to love this piece, actually. So when I first started this, I was ripping more than I was stitching, and I was throwing it across the room, and it was driving me absolutely bonkers. And so it went into timeout for a long time. Long time. But then it was pulled out as another WIPGo call, and I just kind of went to town on this year. So here is where I'm at now. I've got the top row finally done, so I've got the flowers and the deer. I've got the quote has been done, and now I'm working on the bottom part there. So the bottom part and the top part, I'm switching around. So the top part in the pattern calls for all of these letters. And the one thing about samplers that I hate is just random alphabets for the sake of alphabets. Don't know why they're in there. I know some people love them. I personally don't care for them. But I'm really liking the motif at the bottom here. So I'm actually going to take this motif at the bottom and put it here at the top. There you go. So with some of the rain and the thunderstorms and downpours we've had lately, I've actually gotten quite a bit done on this. So maybe this will get done this year. Maybe. I'm a serial starter. I don't, it's finishes that are few and far between for me because I do a lot of the big pieces. But I've had some small pieces that I've been now working on 3, 4, 5 years that are finally close enough to a finish where I finally said, I just need to just sit and just knock them out so that way I have room in my whip basket again. Because I'm telling you, my whip basket is getting quite full. And eventually I'll do a full whip parade so you can see that. See what else did I work on in June. So I've kept up with the Fandom Stitching Central. They're 0 to hero stitch along. So there's 2 similar patterns. I think I showed you these on the last Flosstube. One is the heroes and one is the villains. So here is my progress on the heroes. I don't think I have any progress on this since the last time I showed you this. The last motif I stitched on this was the mouse here from the Rescuers. So this is one that I do need to pull out and get caught up on. And I'm liking this pattern more. I'm just hesitant about the color of the fabric. The whites and stuff are not showing up nearly as much as I would have liked. Sorry for the crinkles. And then on the villains piece, again, crinkles again for a couple seconds here. The thing is with this one is I was supposed to do it this way, and I started it this way, and so thankfully this is the far edge, so I do have about 1.5 inches of margin left. I was a little panicky because I'd rather have like 3 inches, but here is where I'm at on that one. I believe the last motif I stitched was this little guy from the Jungle Book. He just has this little putty face. And so again, these are just try to get one motif in a week done. And this is on, since I do have the card here, this one is on a Grace Notes fabric called the Duke and I. It's a 16 count Aida using the called for colors. And so I got some motifs done on that. And so finally, the things that you are definitely looking for are my 2 Heaven and Earth. So the way I tend to do my Heaven and Earth rotation is I have right now about 7 going at any one time. And so I use one of my WIPGo boards to help me figure out which ones I'm going to do for the month. So I listed all my heids down next to the numbers, and then when Jessie Marie calls the numbers, that says, okay, these are the 2 I'm picking out for the month. And then I work on them and call it good. So the first one, I know I've shown you some of it, but now since it's out of the Q-Snap, I'll show you all of it. This is Nola by Mandy Manzano. And this is probably my favorite one. So here is the whole thing so far. So being able to see the whole piece. So I got in June, I got this green done. I got a lot of the black done to extend the magnolia, and I started filling in the magnolia. So that was where I really was at in June. And this piece really stands out because my husband is from New Orleans. And so I've kind of adopted New Orleans as one of my hometowns, and I've got family and still got family there. And so when I saw this piece come up on someone else's Instagram, I went over to Heaven and Earth and I just bought it, kitted it up, and I started it probably within a week. And so this is probably my favorite shade to work on right now. I love the bright colors. It's got a lot of meaning to me because it does represent a place that's near and dear to my heart. And this is probably the easiest one of my Heaven and Earth to take with me on retreats. So you will probably see this at Camp Black Needle. I know if you went to Steel City Stitchers this year, you saw me working on it. I worked on this at StitchCon. Because it does have large chunks of one color, it is easy to kind of just sit there and work on one small part rather than switching colors and needles all the time. So this is Nola. And the last shade that I worked on was Vintage Baker. And again, I showed you this in my last Flosstube, but because now that I have them out of the Q-snaps ready to go back in, I can show you everything without the Q-snaps being there. So this is Vintage Baker. Amy Stewart is the artist. And so this is where I'm at right now. So for June, I got the second row started so I finished up some of the pie. So I'm doing this one in a Royal Rose method. So that is just, I'm going down every two and going over. And then so I got all the way to the top, all the way across the top. Now I'm coming down and doing the next row. And this pattern, again, has a lot of meaning to me because when I was a little kid, and I probably told this story in my last Flosstube, but if I didn't, I'll tell it again. One of my favorite memories was spending time with my grandmother. And she often baked. She loved to bake donuts. She baked cookies. And she was constantly doing it and giving it away to her friends at church. And so I couldn't tell you how many days were spent at Grandma's house baking. So when I saw the Vintage Baker pattern, it had a lot of the same looking tins. It had the same looking cookie cutters and everything. And it just really reminded me of my grandmother. So I said, okay, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to work on this one, even though I already had like 3 or 4 in the rotation at that time. So those were the ones that I worked on in June. So I think that's all of my June WIPs. I had 2 finishes in June, both of which I finished at StitchCon. So if you check out Flosstube number 1, where I go over my just StitchCon and introduction, I went through and I showed you guys Winter Wonderland and March, which were my 2 small finishes. Those have already been put away into my needs to be finished off at some point in my lifetime pile, so I don't have them here. But I wanted to just know, I finally got 2 finishes in June. July is hopefully going to be more finishes because Frogwarts gives you points for finishes. Fandom's giving us lots of extra points for finishes. So I've got a lot of things that I've taken close to a finish that hopefully will get done. So let me move my WIPs because I actually had some haul. Kind of the neat thing about, so my sister lives about a mile from In Stitches Needlework in Alexandria, Virginia. So when I go up to see my sister, I have to pop in. And so I popped in last week, and of course I couldn't come out empty-handed. Even though I had just dropped a bunch of money at StitchCon, and even though I said I have enough to work on, you know how that goes. So let me show you what I found at In Pinches. So excuse the crinkles. All right, so first 2 things I picked up were some floss. So I picked up Gentle Arts Coral Reef and Classic Colorworks Dulce de Leche. These are being added to Frogworks Year 5 this year. So these are going to go in my pile because I'm doing Frogworks twice actually. So I'll talk about that in my Frogworks retreat recap. But essentially I'm doing one set of patterns with the called for DMC, and then I'm doing the same set of patterns using the called for overdyes. So these were the new colors added into Year 5 this year, so I grabbed them to make sure I had them whenever I was ready to start Year 5 on the overdyed piece. And then I found this cute little guy, Love Bits, from Hinzit, Virginia. So again, I live in Virginia, and I don't really have a lot of Virginia cross stitch. So it's still in the pattern, in the bag here. So let me try to stop the glare. And it's also got the little charm. So this is Virginia, and they have these in many different states, but I wanted my home state. And then the next thing I found, I actually went in looking for Dirty Annie's houses that she's been doing. Because I got the first house from Nashville, and she's released 2 more patterns. But InStitches really didn't have anything from Dirty Annie except for this one. And I saw this one, and I laughed and I laughed. So I had to buy Fun and Games, where it says all fun and games until someone loses a nut. And this just made me laugh hysterically because I love to sit on my front porch and I watch the squirrels in the big oak tree in my front yard. And every day those squirrels are running around, fighting each other, trying to get to the bird feeder. And it's just fun to watch them. So when I saw this one, I just laughed. I'm like, this has to come into my collection. So that is Dirty Annie's Fun and Games. And then kind of going along with the, I don't have a lot of patterns representing where I live right now. So when I saw this one, I had to. So this is a Works by ABC Cherry Blossoms. So this is living near Washington, D.C. We have the Cherry Blossom Festival every year. And so I try to avoid the tourist crowds because where we are in Virginia, there are so many places to go and see the cherry blossoms, even in my own neighborhood, where I can go and kind of have the place to myself without having to deal with all the tourist crowds. But the cherry blossoms, it's like the surest sign that spring is on the way. So I knew I had to pick this up and add this to my collection. So I will probably start this when they say that the buds are starting to come out next spring. So that'd be kind of a neat thing to do. So that is Cherry Blossoms from Works by ABC. They're without the glare. And then, just as I thought I was done, I'm on my way to the register. I'm like, I don't need any more. I came across the Silver Creek Samplers thing, and that's one of my favorite designers. So this one describes me perfectly. It says, introverted, but will eagerly discuss everything cross-stitch. And I think this described like my entire table at StitchCon, where we all said, yeah, we were introverted, but none of us could shut up. So this definitely describes me and probably so many of you watching right now. Whereas like I tend to keep to myself, I'd rather stitch, but if you get me talking about cross stitch, especially to other cross stitchers, I can't shut up. So that was the haul that I had gotten at InStitches Needleworks. And then I did get some other hauls, so I'm going to be inserting some pictures in here because they're all digital patterns and I don't want to give away the pattern. So as I was getting prepared for Frogworks, Katie and Laura had sent out the list of prompts. And so I spent days going through my collection and my WIPs trying to figure out which projects would fit which prompts. And there were, I believe, 2 I didn't have anything for. One of them was a project with a curse word. So I was like, ooh, I've never stitched anything subversive. I know some people are looking at other Harry Potter patterns, looking for like Harry Potter curses. And I'm like, no. If I'm going to stitch a curse word, I'm going to stitch a curse word. So I bought this pattern from Cross Stitch with Art on Etsy called Fuck Around and Find Out. And this just made me laugh because this is something that my best friend and I say to each other on a fairly regular basis. So I will probably start this during Frogwarts to meet the prompt, then eventually it'll go to her. And then another one that I got from Etsy on Alton embroidery matches the coin prompt. Because believe it or not, I didn't have a single pattern with a coin on it. So I found a pattern and it says, toss a coin to your stitcher. And apparently that's a play on a quote from some TV series, or I don't know, that says, toss a coin to your witcher. And I'm going, I don't watch as many TV shows and Netflix and stuff like that as other people do, so I honestly didn't get the reference. So if you get the reference, can you please comment below and explain it to me? So I got that. And then the last thing that I bought, I was so excited to see this out. So when I was at StitchCon, I got to meet Erin and Amity of the Boomerang Stitchers, of the Hathaway Stitchers. And Amity is a designer, and her design, and she's called Boomerang Stitches. And I was seeing her kind of, not really work on this, but I think she was showing it off, called Bauble Birds. And she released the pattern just a couple weeks ago, and I looked at it and I said, this takes me right back to, again, my grandmother, spending time as a kid with all those 1950s-esque Christmas ornaments that we still put on our tree. So when I saw that, I went, yes, this is me. This is wonderful. I had to get it. So that is Bauble Birds by Boomerang Stitches. You can find her shop on Etsy. And actually, all of these patterns that I've put pictures up in here, you can find on Etsy. So that's my stitching for the month of June. I did a lot. I started a Flosstube. I went to StitchCon. But the other thing about me is that I like to hike. And I honestly hadn't been up on the trails since the beginning of June. So about a week or so after StitchCon, I came home and I already talked to you in my last Flosstube about doing Ragnar. But I still came home sick. I tested negative for COVID, but I was pretty run down. But I finally reached out to my hiking family and I said, look, I need just need to go hiking. So they said, well, we're going to go hike Buck Ridge, which is the closest trail to my house, actually. It's about a 25-minute drive. And I said, so what direction are we doing Buck Ridge on? Because there's Buck Ridge and Buck Hollow, and you can do them as about a 6 to 7 mile loop. And they said, well, we're going to go up Buck Ridge. And I went, oh boy. Here's the picture. I'm going to show you the picture here. Within the first quarter mile, Buck Ridge has 613 steps. I don't even know the elevation gain, but I went up 10 steps, 20 steps, and I had to stop and breathe. I thought I was back in shape, or I thought I was feeling better. No, I was down and out. But we made it to the top of Buck Ridge, and we hiked all the way up to Skyline Drive in Shenandoah National Park. And so that was, the biggest thing to tell about that was, man, am I out of shape for not hiking. But then I also became a trail maintainer in June. So I finally got some trail happy mail that I kind of have to show off. It's not stitching happy mail, but to me this is happy mail. So I got this beautiful thing from the Potomac Appalachian Trail Club, PATC. And in there, I got a map of the Central District, which is the closest part to where I live, and it's the most updated map. And I laughed because I literally just bought this map. So they sent it to me. So yay, I now have 2 of these maps. I got a beautiful card to put in my car. So when I'm actually going up there working on the trails, I can set this on my dashboard. And so they don't think that there's some random abandoned car. And rumor has it this placard will get me into the park for free if I'm coming in to do trail maintenance. And then I got a whole bunch of forms, a whole bunch of, thank you for being a trail maintainer. Here's how you need to, here's the forms you need to fill out for your work hours. Here's, I don't even think, yeah. Oh, here's what to do if you find a bear. Don't run. And then the last thing I got was a key. So I got this little key, and this is takes me to all the tool sheds in Shenandoah National Park. So if I need to go up there and get a weed eater, if I need to go get whatever I need to do my trail maintenance, I can get into it. And then my husband, who is a 3D printing wizard, said, well, you need a keychain. So he 3D printed me this wonderful keychain with the Appalachian Trail symbol, and there's my key. So this will go in my car. So anytime I need to get something from the tool sheds in the park, I now have the key. So that was my hiking happy mail. So trying to think what else. I talked about my whips, talked about my finishes, haul, hiking, life. Yeah, so coming up right now in July, frogworts. So my next video is going to be probably my frogworts unboxing, because that's supposed to ship today, I hope. And but right now I'm working on the current frogworts pattern. I started that on Sunday, and we get 2 weeks to finish it. So I am about 40% into it. And so that is my goal, to have that done by the 14th of July. And then the retreat itself starts Wednesday night. And then it is full-on weekend. Competitive cross-stitching at its finest. But it is so much fun. The competition is kind of secondary. Yeah, it's competitive cross-stitch, and it's a good way to challenge yourself. But at the end of the day, it's about the friendships. And I've been doing frogworts since the first year, so since 2020. And the retreat has grown. It has expanded. It has improved. I mean, that first year we were kind of just like figuring things out. But I have made so many friends. So many of you watching probably have met me, or we've met through frogworts or something at the Black Needle Society. So I am looking forward to that. I am on Team Slytherin Common Room, and as always, it is our team goal to win the House Cup this year. And it is my personal goal to make a run at winning the entire thing. I know it's a lofty goal. I know winning is not everything, so I'm trying not to kill myself. But last year, one of my teammates and I kind of went back and forth all weekend on just who had more stitches at any point. And at the end of the weekend, I was the MVP for Slytherin House because she won the whole thing. And so I said, ooh, I came close. So I'm going to make a good faith effort. That means some late nights staying up. That means a lot of stitching. That means stash dives, digital dives, just a lot of crazy stuff. So I've cleared my schedule for the weekend, and so we'll see. I said, if I win it, I win it. If I don't, I don't. But I'm going to try. Just, again, it's good to have goals. So that is what's coming up in July, is mostly frogwort stuff. So my next video probably be my frogworts unboxing, and then I'll do a frogworts recap, and then I'll do at the end of the month, or close to the end of the month, just a July recap, because I've got a lot of things I'm hoping to finish. So with that, yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for sticking with me and my weird ramblings. So don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all the YouTube-y things, to, just share the love of cross stitch with everybody. Also find me on Instagram at walking_in_stitches, or in_stitches, walking in stitches with an underscore in between them. And that's where I'm posting my progress every day on my frogworts pieces. And other than that, I will catch you guys on the flip side. So remember, always look on the bright side and stitch your own stitch. Have a great day. Hey guys, I'm back. So as I was putting stuff away from this Flosstube, I realized there's one piece I didn't show you. And because it is a very important piece, well, all my pieces are important to me, I forgot to show you this. So I have been working on this antique fire truck piece from Beaux since 2006. Of course, I got about halfway through, realized I had messed it up so royally there was no coming back, and so I restarted it. And I don't remember when I restarted it, but I finally am at the point where I feel like I can see the finish line. So in June, I started the background. So I got all that beautiful outlining and the circling and some back stitching starting on the fire truck. Just for whatever reason, I just never thought I'd see the finish line on this one. So there's still a lot of background stitching to go, but I got over 1,000 stitches on this in June. So that made me so happy. Okay, so I'm pretty sure now that that really is all that I had to show you. So thanks. And stitch your own stitch.